Welcome to the Awesemo Early Bird Podcast. It's your old pal EMAC coming to you with one Adam Ship My Money Share as we get ready for Tuesday's 14-game main slate. This should be a real barn burner. Coors Field is, of course, back in action. We've got some hitters to target. We've got some pitchers to target against. It's going to be a good time. Adam, how are you doing?
Doing pretty good. Looking forward to a nice full slate. It's always fun when Coors is in play. It gives you some interesting decision points.
Indeed it does. We've got some top-notch pitching, throwing out a few names. Justin Verlander. I almost said Justin Bieber. Shane Bieber. Noah Syndergaard, if he's not traded. Joe Musgrove. What do we got here? Let's see. Reynaldo Lopez at 9,200 on FanDuel. That seems aggressive. Marcus Stroman going for his new squad, potentially. Oh, is there a doubleheader? Interesting. There is not a doubleheader. Why are they listing two starting pitchers? I don't know, because we're trusting the DFS site, something that you may not want to do. But let's get going with our first real game here, Adam. Reminder, we, of course, are sponsored by Yahoo. They do have the management fee free contest. It is $6,000 on Tuesday. That is $6,000 in, $6,000 out. It will fill. Generally, they run it around $3,000 or $4,500, but they're bumping this one up. I'm sure it's part of the irrational exuberance around NFL somehow. But 10 entry max. If you have not yet signed up to Yahoo, go to any Spotlight Hitters and Stacks article on Awesemo. They are free, and in the third paragraph, you will find the link to sign up to Yahoo and get up to $30 in Yahoo Sports Rewards points with your initial DFS deposit. You get the link, you get the promo code, and that will be a free article that is every day that there is baseball. Adam, Tyler Beede in Philadelphia. Feels like that's almost as far away from his home base as he could get. He's taking on Drew Smyly. Wow, not really an exciting spot there for Drew. What do you want to do here with our first game? We've got Beede at 7,100, Drew Smyly at 6,000 even on DraftKings.
Yeah, not really interested in Beede here. Obviously, a really negative park shift going into Philadelphia. Philadelphia is a pretty good offense. Beede has walk issues. He's got decent stuff, but just a lot working against him here, and you're not really getting him at a cheap price point. Smiley's price point is reasonable. Obviously, there's a lot of bats on the slate that we would like to get to. Looking at pitching below him, there's one arm that really stands out with Joe Musgrove. So not like Smiley's going to be an optimal play, but he is facing a Giants team that is well below average in terms of production. I expect that most of my ownership will just go to Musgrove, though.
And that does tend to make a lot of sense here. Beede, of course, as we like to say, gets worse the farther away from home that he is. He does have some walk issues. This could be a tough one. We'll have to see. 28 pitchers in action. We will have a little bit of dispersed popularity, which is something that will help us out on some of these guys, but it also makes for some interesting bedfellows. You'll have to keep an eye on that. On to our next game. Arizona up to the Yankees. They finished up their series in Miami. This one will be a little bit tougher, of course, because, well, the Yankees are pretty damn good on offense, and they will now be facing a designated hitter. So Taylor Clark at 5,300. It is going to be 87 degrees in New York at first pitch. There is an 11-mile-an-hour breeze out to out to left. The Yankees have a 7.1 implied run total. I'm guessing no for Taylor Clark.
No, I think Taylor Clark's probably one of the worst starters that is still making like regular starts in the major leagues at this point. And he has to face, a Yankees team that obviously has tons and tons of power. I don't have any interest in Clark.
We do have a baby narrative, though. His wife gave birth to a daughter last week. Does that change anything for you? And I hope it doesn't.
It does not.
All right, let's talk about the Yankees then real quick here. J.A. Happ going against the Diamondbacks. They do have the ability to get very righty-heavy. Just naturally, they've got Walker, Jones, Wilmer Flores, Yasmani Tomas. Those are the guys who really want. Flores, I like at 3,400, second base eligibility on DK. He is always sneaky for a home run on that side. What do you want to do with J.A. Happ, however, who has been mediocre would probably be a little too generous.
Not the best matchup for Happ. The Diamondbacks, not a high strikeout team. They do have a lot of right-handed power. Happ comes in at 7,300, so middle of the park price. I don't think that I'll really be getting to that price range all that much. And it's not a great matchup, so not really that interested.
All right, that makes sense. I'm trying to look. Why, two of the sites have Stroman listed. He was traded like a day and a half ago. I don't know why they haven't updated things. I'm looking at the Major League probable pitchers page, and it is Noah Syndergaard. Just for those of you scoring along at home. And then we didn't mention it, but the early game is going to be Dinelson Lamet against Baltimore. Baltimore still TBD for their pitcher. That is a 3:40 Eastern time game. That will be 12:40, the businessman special on Getaway Day there in San Diego. Continuing back to our main slate here, we have Atlanta taking on the Nationals. You've got an interesting spot here going against Eric Fedde. Now, if there is any hint of any rain, probably east of the Mississippi, there's a decent chance the Nationals are going to work to call this game a postponed game, because that's what they've done twice now with Eric Fedde. Once this year, once last year. Now, I want everybody to know that is no longer, after the All-Star break, it is not in the hands of the team. It is actually the umpire crew in consultation with the league office. Nonetheless, Adam, terrifies me now when Eric Fedde's on the mound. Not because I want to take the other pitchers, or the other hitters, but because there could be a phantom rainout again.
Yeah, supposedly MLB does that, handles. We'll see. Hopefully, we just don't have to deal with that. It is a tough matchup for Fedde. Not really looking to get to him against Atlanta, and not looking to get to Tehran on the other side. Just a not very good pitcher who is priced up, facing a reasonably good Washington offense that doesn't have a ton of strikeouts in their lineup. Yeah,
and the power that Tehran's been giving up the last two seasons there to righties, that is going to actually help with Turner, Rendon. They should be joined, of course, by Juan Soto and potentially Matt Adams returning to the lineup here. But continuing along here, all right, now we've got some pitchers. Of course, it is going to be approaching 90 degrees here in Boston. Boston has a 4.9 implied run total. The Rays have a 4.2 implied run total. Charlie Morton going for the Rays, 10,900. David Price, revenge against one of his many former teams at 9,000. Would you like to spend on either of these pitchers with their respective matchups, the weather, and Coors Field on this slate?
I really doubt that I get to Morton. He's just too close in price. He's more expensive than Bieber. Obviously has a tough matchup against the Red Sox. I think that David Price is somewhat interesting. Facing a Tampa Bay lineup, not the best matchup, but also not the worst. And you do get a price discount on Price, compared compared to the other, good pitchers on the slate. So I do have interest in David Price.
I walk into that one at least 3 times during the baseball season, so no worries there. Continuing along, a couple more games here at 7 o'clock. We have the Minnesota Twins in Miami taking on the Marlins. Zach, is it Gallen or Galen? I have not actually watched him pitch, so I do not know that for sure.
I'm not sure. I think it's Gallen.
All right, let's go with Gallen. Going against Jake Odorizzi. Odorizzi gets the Envy Bowl matchup here, going against the Marlins, who will be relatively righty-heavy with pretty much Neil Walker and who's their other guy? Why am I blanking? Curtis Granderson. Generally, they're only lefties that really come into play. Odorizzi's been pretty darn solid. Gets to go against the pitcher instead of the DH. We like that. Zach Gallen on the other side. Tough ask here going against the Twins, but they are losing the DH. They have a 4.5 implied run total, and Gallen is 8,100. I think for me it would probably Odorizzi, but we are paying full price for his matchup against the Marlins.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really dangerous matchup for Zach Gallen. Not a lot of strikeouts in the Minnesota lineup. The highest ISO against right-handed pitching in baseball. Negative park shift for the Twins, but outside of that, nothing really positive to say there. Gallen does have good stuff, but he's not priced down at all for the matchup. And then Odorizzi, does get a really favorable matchup against the Marlins in Miami. He's not my favorite guy to pay up for, but it is certainly a viable option. 25.5% strikeout percentage again overall this season and going into Miami. One thing working against him is that he's pretty much always throughout his career been a reverse splits pitcher against Miami or against reverse splits pitchers, pitching worse against righties. Miami doesn't have a lot of good righties, but they do have a lot of righties. 224 expected ISO against them for the season for Odorizzi. I think he's reasonable.
All right. Yahoo pricing real quick. Odorizzi is 38. Gallen is 34. That becomes a little bit more of a conversation point. You have Griffin Canning at 42, Mike Leake, Mr. Home Run himself, at 40, Chris Bassett going against Milwaukee, and they get the DH because this one is in Oakland at 39. So Odorizzi at 38 does become a little more appealing. If we go above him in the pricing sheet, you have David Price at 44, Musgrove at 45, Syndergaard at 49. So he's kind of got a reasonable discount there to those guys. So I think if you're playing on Yahoo, he is definitely someone in conversation, as is Gallen at 34 from that standpoint. Jason Vargas, by the way, has been traded, Adam. He is going to pitch for the Phillies.
Yeah.
Woohoo. That sounds like fun. On to our next game. Musgrove, Tanner Roark. Yikes, Tanner Roark. It's going to be warm. It's going to be humid. Always potential for rain, apparently, in Cincinnati, depending on what weatherman you like to listen to. You have 83 degrees there. Joe Musgrove at 5,100. How much Musgrove on DK at 5,100 is too much Musgrove?
I could see getting to 100%. There's just no real reason not to be on Musgrove here. Obviously it's a negative park shift for him, but he's just too good of a pitcher to be as cheap as he is. He was 5,800 his last couple of starts, had one really good start, one bad start, and his price tag somehow dropped. If you look, overall in the context of the slate, in like the bottom 2/3, or I guess like he's between the middle and the bottom, 10 percentage, 6% walk percentage, but he is throwing a bit harder than he was earlier in the season. He's had a little bit more success. Cincinnati's a below average offense overall. I just don't really see any reason not to be getting the Musgrove.
All right, and then Tanner Roark on the other side. I'm not really a fan of the weather or the environment. He has a 4.5 implied run total coming here for the Pirates. I didn't point it out, but Musgrove does have a 5.1 implied run total going against him for the Reds. I agree with you with where Musgrove is and for his price. I mean, if he gets us 10, 12 points, we're doing cartwheels. I think that's possible, and I think that's possible still with the Reds getting, their 5 runs. Some could come off the bullpen, and even if Musgrove gives up a few, it doesn't mean he's going to be completely worthless. So price dictates a lot there for DraftKings on FanDuel. No, I'm not even going to entertain that whatsoever. And then Musgrove is the 5th highest priced pitcher on Yahoo. Don't want to do that there. So this is a specifically DraftKings only, and because he's dang near the minimum, which generally the minimum for starters is about 5,000. I know we see a little bit less from time to time, but that's usually their default. Sorry, Tanner Roark at all, or 8,300, just kind of not very interesting.
No, actually, I'm interested in the Pirates, especially if Corey Dickerson comes back. Roark's been really good against righties, really struggled with lefties. Nice park shift for the Pirates. Really difficult team to strike out, above average offense, reasonably priced. So I'm not interested in Roark, but depending on the Pirates lineup, I like them.
All right. Yahoo, Roark 35, Gallen at 34, or Tyler Beede at 32. Is it Gallen? Hesitantly?
Yeah, probably Gallen.
Right. Well, we got some guys that are priced all over the board across these 3 different sites. Now we got the real pitchers finishing up.
It would be, Drew Smiley over all of them at $28.
There you go. Out of doing a little bargain shoppers. Extreme couponing? I don't know. I'm sure there's a show on TLC that Adam is going to appear on at some point. Final game here, premium pitchers. We've got... never mind. We've got Houston at Cleveland. I was blanking and thinking we just talked about Charlie Morton. Yeah, he plays for Tampa. We've got Houston, Cleveland, Justin Verlander, JV going against the Beebs, Shane Bieber. Now I've reversed it the other way. 4.5 implied run total here for Houston, 4.1 for Cleveland. We're paying a premium here, but we do have to give these guys some attention and some words, Adam. Justin Verlander can get 10 strikeouts against anybody. And the Beebs, not too bad against righties. Houston really only going to have a couple lefties. What do you want to do with these guys?
Yeah, I mean, it's a difficult matchup for both guys, but two of the best pitchers on the slate. And on DraftKings specifically, where you have Musgrove you can use as an SP2, it's not even like it's difficult to get good bats with one of these pitchers. Verlander leads the entire slate with a 32.8% strikeout percentage. The Indians have, as a team, their active roster has just a 20.1% strikeout percentage against right-handed pitching. So, pretty difficult matchup, but it is a left-handed heavy lineup for Cleveland. We've seen Verlander's strikeout totals against lefties be higher than against righties over the last couple of seasons. So far this year, he struck out 35.8% of left-handed hitters. So that works in his favor. I don't think he's overly expensive, and I think that on DraftKings, at least where you have the really cheap SP2 to pair him with, he's still a really strong play. And then on the other side, Bieber actually has the best xFIP on the slate at 3.19, even better than Verlander. Strikeout percentage just behind Verlander at 31.3%. He's a little bit cheaper, but he is facing an Astros team that obviously is really, really good. They just got a little bit healthier too, getting Carlos Correa back. So the lineup gets, even deeper. Really, really tough spot. I could see getting some just because of how good he is and because he probably won't really have ownership. But with there being 14 games, with it being easy to be contrarian, I wouldn't expect to get to tons of Bieber.
All right, so that cleans up the 7 o'clock games. Now we are on to the 8 o'clock games. A little more robust schedule this Tuesday than we had on Monday. We have the Mariners in Arlington taking on the Texas Rangers, where the Mercury is going to be just shy of triple digits. At first pitch, you have Mike Leake, who has allowed the 4th most home runs since the beginning of last year. And a lot of those, proportionally, a lot more are coming against righties than they have been lefties. But don't be afraid to take the lefties against him. On the other side, you have Ariel Jurado. Hopefully we have Dan Vogelbach and somebody picking him for their home run call of the night. Adam, I don't want anything to do with either one of these pitchers. However, Jurado is 5,700. Any sort of a pivot at all off of Musgrove?
I mean, you can, but I would just rather go with Musgrove and assume the field's going to mess up and not have enough of him. Jurado, just not as good a pitcher as Musgrove. In a equally bad, probably maybe a little bit worse park when you factor in the weather. Seattle, not the scariest lineup, but also not, a cakewalk for predominantly left-handed. Jurado so far this season has struck out 14.1% of lefties, 175 expected ISO. Pretty unappealing option.
All right. And then on the other side, Mike Leake. Yeah, don't do it. Friends don't let friends play Mike Leake unless you're playing the 4-game, 8 o'clock slate and you need 2 pitchers, perhaps then. And only then. But you're going to be giving up on our next half dozen options there. We have Noah Syndergaard and Reynaldo Lopez. This one is in Chicago. The White Sox, of course, an American League team, so they will have the DH going against Syndergaard. Syndergaard coming in at 10,300. I know you're not a huge fan of him. I'm not a huge fan of him, but he is playing the White Sox, and they do like to strike out against righties. Let's start with him, Adam. How are you feeling about Syndergaard?
It is a really favorable matchup. The price tag is higher than his talent level, but, it's in line with the matchup. So it's clearly a better matchup than Verlander, Morton, or Bieber have above him. Right below him, you're looking at guys like Darvish, Odorizzi. So I think Syndergaard's a really good cash SP1. I would guess that where I'm paying up in tournaments, I look to be contrarian and just pivot a lot of that ownership to more talented pitchers, slightly more expensive.
All right. Reynaldo Lopez over his last 3 games, averaging 7 innings per outing, less than 1 base runner per inning, 8 1/3 strikeouts per inning. And in those 21 innings, he has allowed just 4 earned runs. Somehow he is the 3rd most expensive pitcher on FanDuel at 9,200. That feels like a place where I really do not want to go. On DraftKings, for additional perspective, he has 7,700, and he's about, let's call that the 15th most expensive pitcher. And then on Yahoo, he is the 7th most expensive pitcher at 42. Amongst the guys around him, Canning, Leake, Bassett, I like him better than them, but Odorizzi is at a $4 discount. So I'll make this easy, Adam. It's a no for me, and I'm assuming you on FanDuel, but I think it's we've got to look at him on DraftKings. I know you're going to be writing the article behind the paywall, but do you have an early sneak preview of how you feel about Reynaldo Jekyll and Hyde Lopez?
I think it's a terrifying spot. I don't think I'll get there. He has pretty good strikeout stuff, but it's much better against righties than lefties. For the season, he's struck out 24.9% of righties, just 17.5% of lefties, north of 200 ISO to both sides of the plate. And then you look at the Mets lineup, McNeil hopefully will be back, Conforto, Cano, all from the left side, Pete Alonso, just a great hitter right-handed. Ramos has some right-handed power. I don't really want to pay for Lopez on any site. DraftKings, as you said, he's the most appealing, but you still have Griffin Canning against the Tigers at a very similar price point.
All right, let's see. This is the hard-hitting analysis from the MLB probable pitchers page. Reynaldo Lopez promised to be better in the second half, and he continues to be a man of his word. Although he did lose to the Marlins 2-0 on Wednesday, he struck out 8 over the game and lowered his post-All-Star break ERA to 1.7. Did you find anything useful in that?
Did I find what?
Anything useful at all in that? The answer is no.
Did not. No, I did not.
Never change MLB probable pitchers page. Never change. Moving along here, we've got division rivals, hated division rivals, the Chicago Cubs facing the Redbirds there in St. Louis. You have Yu Darvish, 9,800, facing a 4. God, the dyslexia is killing me today. The 4.5 implied run total there of the Cards. On the other side, you have Adam Wainwright, who somehow has been getting it done at 37 years old, but he will face some lefties in this lineup, so I don't want to go to Wainwright. Cubbies only have a 4.6 implied run total. It's going to be 80 degrees with 60% humidity. Adam, you lived out there in St. Louis for a while. That sounds like home run weather.
Yeah, it gets really hot and humid out there. Ball carries really, really well. It's definitely one of those parks that gets affected by the weather a lot. Overall, it's a pretty neutral park, but during the summer, the ball will fly. Darvish has had issues with home runs. Still a watered-down Cardinals lineup. The walk numbers have been a bit better for Darvish to the game with the sixth highest strikeout percentage on the slate at 27.2%. So, not a terrible year and terrible upside play, but the price tag is probably going to be enough to scare me away because he is more expensive than David Price.
All right, 4 games to go here. We have no scheduled starter for the Blue Jays, so that we will have to learn tomorrow. They, of course, have traded Marcus Stroman. We'll have to see who else is leaving their team. You also, on the other side, have Mike Montgomery at 4,800, which is an intriguing price point here against the Blue Jays. However, the one thing that Montgomery does not do is strike people out. That's going to be a bit of a problem here. Adam, I'm looking at his game log. He has, let's see, 5 innings pitched in his last start, no strikeouts. And then these are appearances because he's coming out of the bullpen. 2 innings, 1 strikeout, 3 1/3, 1 strikeout, 2 innings, 1 strikeout, 1 inning, 1 strikeout, 2 innings, 3 strikeouts. I'm going to set the over-under at 2.5 for strikeouts against the Blue Jays, Adam. Would you go over or under?
I would. It's a lot of righties. Yeah, I mean, he gets like 3 or 4. But.
Would you play him is the more important question.
No, I would rather just play Musgrove.
All right, let's step out of this one here. Again, you get the DFS strategy show that will be at 9:30 on Tuesday morning. I suspect by then we will have a Toronto Blue Jays pitcher. Whomever it is will not be good. That I can guarantee. The Dodgers, the Rockies, here it is, Coors Field. It's going to be 83 at first pitch. We have a 10 to 12 mile an hour breeze going out to right field. That's more like a wind than a breeze. We're looking at 35 to 40% humidity, Adam. I don't know who's starting for the Dodgers. But it's Kyle Freeland on the other side. So we like the Dodgers against lefties, but you know what? Or against righties. I'm going to like him against this lefty with any of the righties that make their lineup. I'm assuming you want nothing to do with Freeland, who managed to have a worse ERA in AAA than he did in the major leagues, and he has approaching a 7 ERA, at least last time I checked, in the major leagues. This is all about bats, is it not?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy the step back that Freeland's taken this year. He's still been really good against lefties. 296 expected WOBA, 127 expected ISO, 28.8% strikeout percentage. So, he has that working for him when you talk about a Dodgers team that has, Seager, Bellinger, Verdugo, but Peterson probably will go to the bench or the bottom of the lineup, one of the two. Still has to deal with Turner, Pollock, Christopher Negron now on the Dodgers. One of their top hitting prospects, Will Smith, is now their catcher. So still a really, really tough matchup and not a spot where I want to go.
Wasn't Christopher Negron just with the Mariners like this weekend?
Yeah.
Life comes at you fast. All right. Well, we'll find out who the Dodgers are going to start. Again, Tuesday, 9:30. You get the DFS Strategy Show over there on the Osmo YouTube channel. Do you have anybody starting for the Brewers?
And
I'm looking because I'm looking at 3 different places that say no. We're not going. Adrian Hauser is what I'm seeing. That's from FanDuel.
Actually, yeah. Yep, I'm seeing that too.
All right. So Hauser, while he has been a reliever at times, he's getting a chance in the bullpen. So Hauser against Oakland. Let's look at his recent pitch count. He has... last 3 appearances have come out of the bullpen. 21, 26, 16. Prior to that, he did go 92, 87, 75, 64. So that was as he was ramping up. That 92 came on just 2 weeks ago on July 15th. So I would say if he wanted to go 80 pitches today, he probably could. I think we're going to need more information before we do anything with him.
Yeah, it's just he benefits from pitching in the bullpen. Not great as a starter. Tough matchup here against Oakland as well. Low strikeout team with a lot of power. Not sure. I'm pulling it up now. On DraftKings, he is 6,800. Yeah. So it's not even like you're getting a huge discount. It's just hard to justify rostering $6,800 Hauser over $5,100 Musgrove.
All right, and then on the other side we have Chris the Bassett Hound, 9,200 on DK. On the season, 4.1 ERA, 90 strikeouts there in 94 innings pitched, and a 1.2 whip. I don't see why he is getting a $9,200 price bump against one of the better teams, or one of the better offenses in the league, who now gets a designated hitter instead of the DH. Adam, I don't want to pay $9,200 for him. On Yahoo, he is 39. I'm really not excited about that. And then on FanDuel, he's 66. I'd be interested at 66 on FanDuel, maybe, if I was playing a bunch of teams. But this feels like a fool's errand.
Yeah, I mean, it's just there's guys that I think are more appealing. Odorizzi and Price, at that salary range. And then plenty of guys at cheaper price points that I think grade out better.
All right, that brings us to the final game of the night. The Detroit Tigers going against the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. Drew Verhagen, 4,300. Adam, Griffin Canning, 7,900. Canning came into that 16-inning game and promptly hooked up the Orioles with 5 earned runs there in the extra innings. Let's start off with Canning. He gets a good matchup against Detroit, but can he be trusted at all at this point?
Yeah, I love Canning here. Okay. I think he's gotten pretty unlucky.
Here we go. Break it down. I want to hear it. Talk me into it.
Yeah, I think he's gotten pretty unlucky this year. He has struck out 25.2% of hitters, which is a top 10 strikeout percentage on the slate. He's facing a Tigers team that is really bad, strikes out a lot, may or may not have Nick Castellanos, depending on if he's been traded yet. And against lefties, 24.4% strikeout percentage. Against righties, 25.9%. He's allowed a 305 WOBA and a 231 ISO to lefties, but just a 298 expected WOBA, 180. And then against righties, a 339 WOBA and a 208 ISO, but a 297 expected WOBA, 175 expected ISO. So he does give up some power, but it's a Detroit team that doesn't have much of it. His numbers should be better than they are, I think. Strikeout numbers are certainly there, and the price tag's appealing. So I have no issue getting to a lot of Griffin Canning.
All right, and this game, I should have mentioned Oakland is going to be 56 degrees, so that's much colder than it typically is there for Oakland, and there is some chance of precipitation in the area though it rarely rains. But Detroit and Anaheim, in Anaheim, it's going to be 75 degrees, nearly 60% humidity, breeze from 5 to 8 miles an hour out there to center field. Drew Verhagen on the other side, Adam, 4,300. He made his first start against the Mariners 5 days ago. He allowed 6 earned runs in 4 innings. He did go 82 pitches. The 4 walks really got him. That was not helpful. Only 1 home run, but 10 total base runners. 7 of them scored, 6 were earned. So just was not a great outing for him all in all. 4 walks, 4 strikeouts, but he is 4,300 as we get on out of here. Is he a final consideration at all for that price point?
No, just a brutal matchup for Verhagen, pitcher. In more favorable matchups, I would consider him just because he's not the world's worst pitcher either. But the Angels, really tough team to strike out. Really, really good offense. Pitching, for there being 14 games, pitching is kind of like simple to sum up for me. It's basically, at the top, Verlander, Bieber, Syndergaard. Syndergaard being the quote unquote safest of the group, also the least talented of the group. Price and Odorizzi for a little bit less. Canning's my mid-range guy, and then Musgrove for value.
All right, so reminder, if you would like 3 free months of Awesemo all access, go to Awesemo_COM there on Twitter. The pinned tweet currently gives you instructions on the other Awesemo account you need to follow, which is Awesemo NFL. And then if you retweet after you follow both Awesemo_COM and Awesemo NFL, retweet it and say who you think the best PPR, that is point per reception running back, is going to be headed into the 2019 season. Do all that and you will be eligible for a drawing that will take place on August 6th, where 3 random winners will be chosen. So check that out. 3 of you have a chance to get in for 3 free months of Awesemo premium content. I highly recommend doing so. Speaking of Twitter, you can follow Adam at ShipMyMoneyDFS. I am at EMACDFS. And with that, gamers, good luck.